Wow, bullshit hitbox! His hand didn't even touch me and he somehow got me! Bullshit! Phantom fucking range! Awesome! Wow! Look at that fucking bullshit! That enemy was not there. As soon as I go through this passageway, it suddenly spawns right there. That's how badly designed the spawns are in this part. Why they put so many fucking enemies here? Why they use arbitrary spawns like this? Why they just put enemies that just spawn out of the blue like that? That is so fucking broken. It's no wonder the sequence drags on for a fucking long time and is so tedious. There's no challenge to it. It's just a fucking waiting game. Why do they need so many fucking enemies for this sequence? This isn't even the real nest. The nest you encounter in chapter 11 has less enemies than this. How the fuck does that make any sense? Chapter 10 is so badly paced. Too many fucking enemies in every single encounter that you're doing. So this is a great example of just how badly paced this entire section with the Novicidors is on chapter 10. And I don't understand why there are this many enemies when there isn't even a nest here. In chapter 11, when you go to that nest of the Novicidors, you'd expect there to be way more enemies. But no, there's significantly less. There's like 4 times less enemies in that nest area in chapter 11 than here. And because of the sheer number of enemies that you're dealing with, because of how crappy and unrefined and badly designed the combat is on this game, I'm having to rely upon exploits where I run back into this room and I make the Novicidors stand still so that I can dispatch them when they're in the air. And unlike the original version of Resident Evil 4, when you shoot Novicidors out of the air, they don't die instantly. That kind of mechanic would have warranted this many enemies. Resident Evil 4 OG can have this many enemies because at least when you shoot the Novicidor out of the air, they die instantly. But when you're having to deal with crappy combat, when you're having to deal with enemies that spawn out of the blue, when you're having to deal with shitty hitboxes on the Novicidors, it just becomes a fucking tedious slog. And this recording that you're seeing right now is about 19 minutes, but I've sped it up to 8 times speed, so it's about 2 minutes and 17 seconds. All because the fucking developers got very lazy and decided to take influences from Dead Space 3, where they just throw all these enemies at you rather than intelligently using a small number of diverse enemies in creative ways. There is no creativity here. There is no intelligence here. This sequence was designed by fucking amateurs. It was designed by aliens. It was designed by people that don't understand the nuances and subtleties involved with how you design enemy placements. It's just so fucking mind-numbing, repetitive, mindless, boring, tedious. All these different words that should have crossed the developers' minds. But for some reason they didn't. And you might be wondering why I'm not using the assault rifle here. Well, because I solved the clock puzzle as Ashley earlier than what was intended, the stairs that lead to the assault rifle were not lowered. And I don't understand why, because when you exit that dungeon area and you go back upstairs, the hidden door that you normally have to open when there's one Armadura around is open. So if that's open, why aren't the stairs open for me to get the assault rifle? They couldn't bother instancing the room in such a way that the stairs were unlocked for Chapter 10, regardless of whether you did that clock puzzle as Ashley early or later. That just goes to show the lack of forward knowledge they had with this game. And it just feels like they designed this section with the assault rifle in mind. But if they did, why wouldn't they instance the stairs to be open when you start Chapter 10 for the first time? That right there is just really fucking retarded. Excuse me. Like, you even saw him. All I did was knife the fucking grate. He should have gone there. Then he went to the table. He was shifting his directions in relation to me. Then once he corrected his direction, he came straight for me. How? That's so fucking broken. Makes no fucking sense. Come on, that's bullshit. Fucking grabs. I crouched and she somehow grabbed me, even when I crouched. Fucking hitbox is so broken on that move. What? How do you know where I was? Wow, how the fuck did he know where I was? I hit the box, he should have gone there. But instead he goes directly at me. The AI on this enemy is just so fucking ridiculous. Why did he not get stunned by the flash grenade? Can enemies not be repeatedly stunned with flash grenades even when they're in an animation? That's retarded! God damn it! What a horrible sequence! So badly designed, just so many random moments with the Garradors. So many random moments with the enemies. They just keep on spawning. The Garradors are just pushing all of the enemies around. You have the ambiguity on their pathing. You have the absurd amount of life with them. And if you don't have flash grenades, you're fucked. But even then, it takes like 3 flash grenades to take out one Garrador. And I just cannot get both of those weak spots exposed at the same time. It's so fucking awkward. There's zero thought put into how this sequence works. And somehow the Garrador are able to isolate your own noises from the other enemies. Why the hell can the enemies make all sorts of noises and the Garradors don't respond? Yet in the tooltips it says the Garradors don't know friend from foe. So why the hell can they not respond to enemy noises? Why can the enemies run? Why can they just be chanting all the time and making all these noises? Why can they be allowed to throw weapons? Why can they be allowed to do all this nonsense? And the other noises as well. Apparently deflecting attacks makes noises for no reason. It doesn't make any fucking sense how deflecting attacks can possibly make noises. The number of random variables associated with this stupid encounter if you don't have the rocket launcher from the merchant. This warrants the free rocket launcher in this game. Why have they removed the free rocket launcher from this game when the original version of Resident Evil 4 had that? You sacrifice so much of your inventory space. You had to discard a lot of resources to make room for the rocket launcher, and you had to be clever in the later sequences. Why the fuck would they not bring back the free rocket launcher when they clearly designed the sequence so awkwardly and so poorly and so, like, terribly that it just feels like they want you to use the rocket launcher? I mean, it's just absolutely brain dead. And then you have the awkward hit detection on the Gyarados' weak spot. Like, the shotgun has really poor hit detection on the guy's weak spot. You also have moments where the Gyarados somehow omnisciently know where you are when they're investigating noises or they're sprinting towards a noise. You have all these weird moments with the enemies where they just stand around and do nothing if you just go to very specific spots in the area. Everything is just a fucking damage sponge. The shotgun does absolutely nothing against these fucking Ganado, unless you bounce them off a wall and open them up for a knife execution. But you still need a knife. It's just so fucking awkward because the detection on the wall bounce is not very good. And unless the enemy's right next to the wall and they're facing you or they're facing directly at the wall, you just cannot get the detection to work. It's fucking broken. It's so clunky and awkward. It's so uncoordinated. There are no smart tactics in this sequence. It's just luck and bullshit. And all they had to do was not put in so many fucking enemies. Why does the sequence need so many reinforcements when the original version of Resident Evil 4 never had this many enemies supporting the Gyarados? And then you have the Gyarados with their inability to kill all the enemies, but just instantly, so they're just pushing the enemies around. You have their very awkward hit detection. You have the times when they do the wrong attacks for the wrong situations. And then they're interrupting each other all the time, and they're just pushing enemies all around. It just looks fucking silly and fucking goofy. It's all done as part of an artificial handicap to artificially give the game a supposed level of difficulty when it's not even difficulty. It's just fucking stupidity. I mean, the amount of cheap shortcuts this sequence takes. It just goes to show how lazy and fucking underdeveloped the mindsets are of the fucking developers with these amateurish designs. Badly designed gameplay, just awkward looking gameplay. Gameplay mechanics that make absolutely no sense with the noises and the like. Too many fucking enemies that are just so damage spongy and just eat shotgun shells like they're nothing. You're bouncing enemies across the floor for crying out loud when you're using the shotgun on a single fucking Ganado. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking with this? Damn it. Oh, come on! Fucking detection! It's so stupid how the prompt for deflecting doesn't appear if your back is to the enemy or your side is to the enemy. And it doesn't make any sense because it's the same button for aiming and you can readjust your direction by aiming. So why the hell does the prompt not appear at all? Like, the prompt should always appear if you're going to be using L1, which is your aiming animation, to turn, to face in that direction. It doesn't just apply to the deflect animations, it also applies to the quick time events as well. Like that one attack the Scythe guys do, that requires the use of a quick time event, where you press circle. If your back is to them, it does not give you the prompt, yet this is not the same case with the brutes. When the brutes do that running attack that involves pressing circle, you can have your back to them, and you can still do the crouch. So why the hell do they have to favor this directionality with the fucking detection on deflecting and with the quick time events? It's so retarded. The slightest deviation from facing that enemy is enough to affect the detection. It's so dumb. So badly designed. Why is he running away? God, what is wrong with the AI on this game? All I'm doing is just sitting behind cover, just trying to wait for the enemies to get near me, and this guy just runs away for no reason. The AI is wacky in this game, and it permeates the entire experience. I can't believe that makes noise! Why the hell does knifing an enemy make noise? That makes no fucking sense. Is it just there as a way to, like, tag an enemy for the Gyarados to attack? Well, it does fuck all if Gyarados run into other enemies, and they can't even instantly kill the enemy anyway. What the fuck is the whole point of this? That is just a fine example of how useless the Gyarados are in killing enemies. Even when they hone in on an enemy's location, they just start swinging in the wrong directions, and they can't even kill the enemies properly. And it doesn't even matter if these enemies have so much fucking life. Like, why does that first woman, that hooded woman, like, why does she have so much fucking health compared to the other Ganado here? It's so stupid. You just cannot use these enemies properly. They're more so a fucking hindrance than an actual help. And when you have so many enemies spawning in, they're further invalidated as a creative gameplay mechanic. They're useless as a gameplay mechanic. Not to mention all these other artificial handicaps involved where they somehow recognize only your sounds. They can't even recognize the other enemy's sounds. It's a really stupid section, honestly. That just looks so fucking silly. The first Gyarados just melees him for a bit, then he gets knocked back by the other one just because he sprinted into him. Then the guy starts initiating the attack. The Ganado isn't really flinching much from those claws that are meant to slice open your victims quite easily. He's just getting pushed around. It just looks so fucking silly. Didn't even make him flinch. No flinches just then. Is that really necessary? Just the lack of logic this game has, just the way the enemies react to your hits and to enemy hits like that. Once again, why they don't instantly kill enemies, I don't understand. You just get these really dumb moments where enemies don't flinch, and they're bad enemies, and it's gonna lead you to more poor designs like this. It's all done in a way to make you deal with the poor designs, so you get fucked by them. I mean, the Gyarados already have enough trouble as it is. Just hitting Ganado can actually mean something when they do hit them. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. Oh, come on! I don't know why he pathed in that direction. There's so much fucking ambiguity with where these enemies go. Their pathfinding doesn't make any fucking sense. He should have been right next to the other Gyarados, but instead he went up the stairs and flanked me for some reason. Yet another reason why this whole mechanic with the Gyarados killing enemies is completely fucking worthless. Because their pathfinding is terrible in this game. At any moment, they can just go down a different path for no reason. There's a closer path, but they take, like, the farthest path to get to you, and it makes no sense. It's just so fucking dumb. And it does nothing but complement poor designs, again. The fucking reticle is just not reliable at all when you're trying to punish enemies when they're running. And it just leads back to my previous point a while ago with this game. Why doesn't it have a blind fire mechanic? If you're going to be making the enemies only flinch during very specific animations, and one of those animations is when they're actually in a neutral state of sprinting, and they're running after you, why can't you use a blind fire mechanic to shoot behind you while you're running away? So that you can hit the enemy and stun them. Instead, I'm having to rely upon aiming, and most likely she'll stop sprinting the moment I aim, or she'll start her attack, and she'll be invulnerable to flinch animations. And not only that, but my aim will be off. Yes, it'll go to the center of the screen, but when the camera's zooming in, it's not going to aim exactly at the center of the screen where it was when I wasn't aiming. It's just so fucking awkward. Like, again, why are they trying to make the gameplay of Resident Evil 4 Remake so fucking awkward? They have to make these flinch animations only accessible through very specific gamey means. So fucking artificial. and fucking awkward and uncoordinated, and it's just a fucking mess. And people want to defend this design. That's what boggles me the most. People want to defend the way the stuns are designed on this game and say it somehow contributes to a scary experience. Well, when you're getting fucked by your fucking fundamentals like that, when you're gonna get fucked by the aiming animation so much, when the camera's screwing you, how the fuck does that contribute to a challenge? How the fuck does that contribute to survival horror gameplay? I'm just at a loss of words. Wait, that time I got iframes? So, wait, so when you do ground execution animations on Ganado, it gives you iframes, yet you can do the same animation with the Colmillos from Chapter 9 and you will get damaged? Although I'm pretty sure I've been damaged during this animation, but now all of a sudden it's not damaging me until I come out of the animation. Why is this so fucking inconsistent? With which kind of animations you get iframes during? He's supposed to be prioritizing her, not me. Shield guys are coming. Fucking knew it. And all of a sudden she just starts chasing me down. When the enemies choose to chase you down or not is so inconsistent in this sequence. Because for the most part, a lot of the enemies just choose to walk around, and I don't know if that's because that's just an inherent trait with this section. But other times they just choose to run, and I don't know when. It's just so wildly inconsistent. And when they choose to run, and you're busy trying to get away from the Garradors and the other enemies, the audio design is just not helpful because the enemies make almost no noise when they're running at you, so you don't even know they're running at you. And you're expecting them to be walking around all over the place. And you just get grabbed. And as you're seeing throughout this entire encounter, a lot of the enemies are just choosing to stand still, or just remain in these side corridors or in other areas. It's just not good. It makes no fucking sense why they're standing around like this. It must have something to do with this geometry programming that I've seen, where if you stand near certain pieces of the geometry, it fucks with the enemy's state. I mean, this section is so heavy on RNG because of poor designs, and with inconsistent moments like this. It's a terrible sequence. It's fucking awful. If you decide to use the rocket launcher here, go ahead. I really don't know what the developers were expecting you to do, but I just imagine they wanted you to save up on all your flash grenades starting from Chapter 1 and just get to the sequence, because there are very rarely going to be any static flashbang grenades in the environment. But the problem is you'll already be using a lot of your flash grenades to deal with very shitty bosses like the El Gigante and with other terrible sequences, so how the fuck are you meant to save up on your flash grenades properly? I don't get it. Nice crowd control. Oh wait, no fucking crowd control at all. Because the fucking shotgun is so useless at crowd control. And I just don't understand how I knocked back that enemy, and she didn't even make the other guy flinch. Her own body should have made him stumble. That's how this mechanic is supposed to work. But it's so fucking inconsistent on this game. The shotgun's been so fucking neutered, to the point of being downright unreliable. The knockback generated is useless, unless you're dealing with a single enemy. The critical hit rate on the head is so wildly inconsistent on this game, because it only applies to very specific enemies. And then the stumble mechanic that's supposed to be generated when an enemy is knocked back by the shotgun and they fall into other enemies, it's also inconsistent as well. 4 problems with this fucking shotgun. And people want to say this remake is somehow better than the original. Yet they can't even design weaponry befitting for the number of enemies that you're dealing with and their absurd capabilities. Capabilities that are just so fucking unjustified and just add more to the clunky, unrefined, and unpolished experience, and only serve to complement poor designs even more. Nice. Look at that. And he's even facing me in the direction of the guy that's been knocked down. The fact that the enemies can spam that grab even when you've knocked over another enemy. It just comes out of nowhere, and it can be so much faster than when you're firing the fucking shotgun. The grabs already have shit detection as it is. Do the enemies really need to spam grabs so that they can set you up in a full Nelson for other enemies to hit you? When unarmed enemies are more dangerous than enemies with weapons, your balancing is off. It's fucking off. Why do you bother giving these enemies flails when they already have access to a grab that has really shitty detection? It just comes out of nowhere, and because it's a close range grab and they're just launching themselves at you and they angle the grab down, you can't crouch under it properly. Just imagine what this game would be like if the enemies did nothing but that. Maybe new Capcom shouldn't be wasting time with an attack diversity. They should have every single enemy just do nothing but that grab. Let's see how balanced the game is. Let's see how well designed this game is. Let's see how much this game will feel like a truly functional game, right? Not a game in a pre-alpha stage. It's seriously fucking brain dead and amateurish and alien to think that this is somehow good for the fucking game when the weapons are so unreliable, the enemies flinch whenever they want to, they have an absurd amount of HP, you're having to resort to really stupid strategies and exploits, and all these other dumb strategies. All these spammy grabs do is just complement those kind of shitty designs and shit mentalities. Inhuman mentalities, I should be saying. That is so dumb. Why do they have 2 specific flinch animations whenever they get hit in the weak spot? You have one that's lengthy, you have another that they just recover from instantly. It's like not only is it a pain in the ass trying to get the hit detection correctly on their weak spot, but you also have to try to ensure they go into the correct flinch animation so that you can actually punish them with a flash grenade. But no, it has to be so inconsistent for no reason. Do you really want to add another random element that makes this already god-awful fight even more fucking underwhelming and downright insufferable? For shit reasons. Oh, come on, bullshit! Thank you, crappy suplex detection. What the fuck?! He damaged me during the animation! A cammed animation! That's normally supposed to give you iframes! He damaged me! Are you fucking kidding me?! That's such horseshit! Of course he fucking misses. His fucking turning animation is so heavy. He's not capable of doing a quick turn to actually go in my direction immediately. He has to take such a wide angle and then actually get to me. And that wide angle allows him to bypass enemies and just make this even more awkward than it needs to be. Jesus Christ, fucking die! Keep fucking missing, and he fucking got me with that fucking running attack! Why the fuck does he have so much fucking life? The fucking shotgun doesn't do anything on his weak spot when it's exposed! Even after all those grenades, hitting him when his weak spot is exposed, he won't fucking die! What a fucking mess! They just wanted this to be a fucking shit show! Poor designs left and right. So many fucking enemies. It's just a flashbang fest. If you used up your previous flashbangs in the previous chapters in order to do so to bypass poor designs in those previous chapters, you won't have enough to kill these guys. I just laid everything into him and it still wasn't enough. There's no reason for this enemy type to have this much fucking life. Why does it have so much fucking life? I don't understand! Oh, come on! Did you even see that other Derridor, by the way? He didn't even get stunned by the flash grenade. He went into his attack animation for no reason. Jesus Christ, how fucking broken is this game? When the enemies aren't going to obey the rules of the game, they're supposed to be stunned by flash grenades, but that guy instead decided to go into his attack animation because the animation priority system is so broken and badly designed, or the fucking AI system governing the transition into animations is drunk and high on drugs at the same time. Wow, what are the chances of that happening? My grenade colliding with her projectile, and I almost get hit in the process. Wow, that is a rarity. Oh, great. More of them. More of them? How many more enemies does this sequence fucking need? And I get grabbed at the fucking end! Why are there so many fucking enemies? It's so unnecessary! All it's doing is opening me up to encountering the poor designs of this fucking game. Among all the other poor designs I encountered, I then had to be finished off by this with the fucking grabs. The bullshit grabs that are unavoidable, unable to be crouched under properly because of the fucking detection, and without much the enemies spam the fucking grab. And again, when unarmed enemies are more annoying than fucking armed enemies with weapons, your balancing is off significantly. And of course he damages me during the fucking animation. This is why you have to always get rid of the scythe guy. Because for some reason he's more aggressive than the rest of the enemies. And of course the Gyarados can't detect the other enemies' movements for whatever reason. Because it's just part of that artificial design to make this more awkward than it needs to be. And make even less sense. In a believable sense. And every time he rushes you, when you go to do the stealth kill attack animation, he damages you during the animation because the developers were idiotic as to not put iframes during this scripted animation. This cammed animation that you're only able to do under very specific circumstances. And is triggered by very crappy hit detection on the fucking weak spot. It's already a fucking inconvenience trying to get this animation to occur because of shitty detection and because of the omniscient nature of the Gyarados. Now I have to put up with iframes that are not there for this fucking animation. They're really trying to make themselves look like fucking jokes, aren't they? And of course, the fucking detection on the deflection is non-existent whenever your back is to an enemy, even though when you're aiming and you're pressing the L1 button to deflect, Leon automatically turns in the direction of the camera. So that should warrant the fucking detection still being there. The detection on the deflection should still exist, even though Leon's back is to the enemy. I'm already being put under a lot of pressure as it is from these stupid poor designs. Do I really need to be dealing with one more poor design as it is? All these kind of shitty designs complement other poor designs, as you're seeing right now. Are you fucking kidding me? How the fuck is he still alive? The shotgun is just so unreliable in so many situations. You just cannot consistently kill enemies properly because of how random the fucking damage is. I shot that guy in the head. Theoretically, if I shot him in the head again, it would have killed him. But no, it knocked him over again. And then it knocked him over again. It's so fucking random for no other reason other than to be fucking awkward. In an already awkward sequence as it is. That's even more awkward than what it means to be awkward. That's what this entire fucking sequence is. And that time he died, even though it wasn't even headshots. There wasn't a single headshot in those two shots, and he died. Why the fuck, again, is there any need for this randomization system with the enemy HP? It doesn't even complement the fucking merchant system. The damage values of your weapons only have significance if the enemy HP isn't randomized. But when the enemy HP is randomized, what good are fucking damage values on your weapons? And what good does random HP serve in making the game more challenging, or whatever this other bullshit you want to talk about with challenge from people who don't even understand what the whole idea of challenge is? It's just there to make this game more awkward. It's just there to complement poor designs. It's just there to waste your time. It's just there to make already terrible sequences even more fucking awkward. You can't even re-engage the stun again the moment he gets out of that flailing state, because the weak spot hasn't fully receded back into his body. That's really retarded. So you have to constantly play this game of waiting for him to do the right combo while enemies are walking towards you, and you have to hope that they glitch out or just stand still or something based on the very strange programming I've found with this sequence. It's just a fucking mess. Like, what is this accomplishing? I just don't get it. See, why did he come out now? They're supposed to react to the shot, and then as soon as I get close to them, that's when they come out. But sometimes they choose to get out of the chains faster than usual, and it fucks with the strategy. Why? Did I accidentally hit the other guy with the shotgun blast? There's no fucking way! How could that possibly be?
just won't fucking die.
I'm out of shotgun ammo.
He's so omniscient, he just knows where I am.
Yeah, he's so omniscient, he just knows where I am. Oh my god, finally! Finally! Was it all worth it in the end? I don't feel any sense of accomplishment with this. This is an incompetently assembled sequence. So many fucking poor designs. There's too many to fucking count with this sequence. What the fuck were they thinking with this retarded sequence? The only thing I can think of is that they wanted you to have like 6 flash grenades for this sequence. To actually get it done. But you had to waste flash grenades on like the previous parts. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking? I just don't understand how anyone can be that fucking incompetent with designing a section. Too many fucking enemies. Like, why does the game need that many reinforcements? It doesn't add anything. It just makes the game that much more clunky and awkward. You have the phantom range on the Garradors. You have their omniscient nature at times, which was already being demonstrated when that guy was close to death. You have all the enemies in their poor designs and their spammy grabs and constantly throwing axes at you. What the fuck does it add? It doesn't add anything. It's so broken. Pre-alpha gameplay. This game should never have been released to the fucking public if it's that broken in its foundations. It's a fucking house sitting on top of a shaky mound. A dirt mound that is going to collapse from erosion, and yet people still decide to build a house over it. That's what it feels like. Wow, look at him just appear out of nowhere. I didn't even see any eyes. There's no ripples in the water. He just appears out of nowhere. That's not old Capcom design right there at all. Resident Evil 7 and the Zoe DLC. You saw ripples in the water to indicate where the gators were. Resident Evil Village in that blood room sequence in Castle Dimitrescu. There were ripples in the blood to show that an enemy was camping there. Here, they just appear out of nowhere. No ripples in the blood whatsoever. That is so unprofessional. Not caring for any sort of detail. They just spawn an enemy out of the blue. Because that's somehow good gameplay. Are you for real? How many shots to the head did this guy take? And he's still alive! What is wrong with this guy? What is wrong with this fucking game? And its untrustworthy mechanics and weaponry. Jesus Christ, how can this fucking Plaga-type beta take this many hits? What is this? How the fuck is he taking this many hits? Thank you. You see that bullshit? Why the fuck do the Plaga-type betas take that much of a beating from the Gyarados? Yet the Plaga-type Guadagna / Plaga-type Alphas don't take this much of a beating. And once again, it just goes to showcase how incongruous the logic is with this guy. This guy can kill you so fast, and even has instant kill attacks, yet the fucking enemies just ignore his slashes like they're nothing. And then when they mutate, it becomes even more fucking absurd and nonsensical, like you're playing a fantasy game. I mean, what the fuck does this increased health on the enemies have anything to do with survival horror or anything like that? It's so retarded. I seriously do not get it. And I seriously do not understand how this contributes to any sense of challenge that the game is having to take this many artificial handicaps and artificial designs to just contribute to this nonsensical idea of challenge when it's just nothing but an awkward, broken, unpolished, unrefined gameplay that is indicative of a pre-alpha build. Finally. What is this fucking ad? What is this fucking ad? How the hell does this make Resident Evil 4 Remake good? How? How the fuck has this game received universal acclaim when the gameplay scenarios are this badly designed? And fucking awkward and fucking clunky and fucking tedious? How? Somebody answer me that. How does anyone think this is good gameplay? How does anyone think this is challenging? How does anyone think this isn't awkward? How does anyone think this isn't pre-alpha gameplay? I'm seriously at a loss of words right now with new Capcom. I really didn't think they could do worse. But this game is the worst Resident Evil game I've ever played, the worst remake of a game I've ever played, and the worst game I've ever played in my entire life. And this entire chapter does nothing to counter these claims. It only supports the claims I have against this game. The objective faults this game has, it's all just being represented in this entire chapter. I'm fucking insulted as a true Resident Evil player. I really am. They took such a really fun encounter in the original version of Resident Evil 4, where you only had to kill two zealots, and you had to be very silent about it, otherwise you would alert the Gyarados too quickly. But once you got rid of them, you didn't have to stay on the bottom level of the entire area so that you didn't spawn more enemies, and so you were working with less space, but it could be done. And you had to individually deal with the Gyarados. You had to get their claws stuck in the walls and deal with them. You could use the shotgun, you could use the knife, you could use the magnum against them if you wanted to. I mean, that's a fight that feels skillful. That is a fight that rewards situational awareness. It tests everything involved with skill, with knowing your environment, knowing your enemy. And they die fast. It doesn't drag itself out if you have the right amount of ammunition, if you've been saving up on your shotgun shells correctly. But this... why the fuck did they put so many fucking enemies in this sequence? Enemies that are already badly designed as they are, have too much fucking life, can spam grab, can spam all sorts of attacks, and have random HP like it's Resident Evil 1 Remake, which doesn't fit the whole idea of Resident Evil 4's faster-paced style of gameplay, weapons that you're supposed to trust, damage upgrades on your merchant that are invalidated by the enemy randomization system on their HP. I mean, it's just completely unnecessary. It turns an already intimidating encounter into a fucking mess. You realize so much you're playing in a game. You realize so much you're not in an experience. You're not in a survival horror environment. You're just in a game, and you're having to game the system like crazy to succeed. It's almost like they designed this sequence with the rocket launcher in mind. But if that's the case, why do they not provide a free rocket launcher before this moment? Look at the amount of fucking space I have. And after I discard all this, I'll have plenty of space. There's plenty of space here to allow me to actually get a rocket launcher and use it to my advantage. You even have the storage system back at the typewriter to allow you to store unnecessary items for the moment so that you can make room for the rocket launcher and then you can get them back. I mean, that's part of being skillful with how you actually store your resources. Something that was highly encouraged in Resident Evil 7. But there's nothing like that. And you have enemies mutating. You have the Gyarados just pushing enemies around because they're so neutered against the enemies. Yet they kill you so fast if they catch you. Then you have their awkward pathfinding because they have so much trouble navigating the environment correctly. And so the amount of times you expect them to go one way, but then they take the long way around in order to get to you doesn't make any fucking sense. You have them doing the wrong attacks all the time on the enemies, just knocking them away. I mean, the amount of enemies here should complement the idea of the Gyarados killing them instantly. That I can understand. But when the enemies have almost the same amount of life as they normally do, or the Gyarados claws are so neutered on the enemies for no reason, and is trying to complement this many fucking enemies because the game couldn't think of a more convincing way to bring back ammunition so that you can deal with them. They're just taking shortcuts. They're straight up cheating you out of your survival horror experience. They're cheating you out of a functional gameplay experience. The developers are fucking cheats, taking advice from a bunch of dumb Resident Evil players who don't understand the very idea of challenge, who don't understand the core designs of a game, who don't understand the complexities involved with how you implement certain designs. This is a massive insult to Resident Evil 4. This is a massive insult to the other Resident Evil games. This is why this game is the worst Resident Evil game ever made. Because it should not have been released. They should have just remade Code Veronica, and it probably could have been a game that would have worked with whatever crappy systems they had in mind, but not for Resident Evil 4. Not even relating it to Resident Evil 4. This goes against the very idea of what it means to be a fucking game. A game designed by AAA developers, yet it feels like I'm playing a mod. It just feels like somebody took some pre-existing game and just overlaid the textures, the characters, the dialogue, and everything else over it. It feels like I'm playing something made by fucking modders in the Resident Evil community. Not from a development team that has existed since 1996 with the very first Resident Evil game that should be at their height of creativity, their height of common sense, their height of intelligence, their height of experience. And what I played just then, as well as with this entire fucking game, what I played is an experience designed by fucking aliens who come from some other reality where the rules of nature, the rules of common sense, and the rules of reality do not line up with our own. That's how fucking retarded these developers are. And I'm gonna most assuredly take damage on the next part, then I'll have to restart because I need a clean recording for my no damage video for this walkthrough. And I have to do it all over again because I don't provide a typewriter after this moment. But if you want me to do it all over again, fine. I'll take any opportunity to showcase more poor designs of this game if you're gonna make me restart the sequence over and over again.